I want to thank my family, my wife Corinne, my son Ben, my parents and sister who are living in Colorado, probably watch this on YouTube in a day or two, and who are probably wishing that they had taken my advice when I gave it to buy a house and move back to central New York, because this place right here, right now, this place is where it's at. And truly and sincerely, my mom, over the first 15 years of my career here in central New York, my mom did everything she could to get me to move out to Colorado and be closer to them. And I understand why. But today it's my turn to return the favor. So Mom, it's time to come home. Thank you. We'll see how that one goes over with my sister, Jen. Finally, I want to thank Elizabeth Kelly. Elizabeth, your leadership, your passion, your enthusiasm, all of this work is so important, and this topic of artificial intelligence is critical. Here's what I heard in those remarks. AI is already transforming our lives, and it is unlocking untold economic and social benefits. It's improving our ability to analyze and utilize data, and it is the driving force behind the very demand for memory manufacturing that brought Micron to our doorstep. The pace at which this technology is evolving is astounding, and as with any great disruptive technology, the potential for abuse and unintended consequences is very real. Now, it's quite the parallel, isn't it? Just like the rapid transformation in our community right here today, and the exponential growth that we are about to experience, our ability to harness and shape this coming growth will ultimately be our generation's legacy. We must simultaneously recognize that the inevitability of the growth that's coming, but also understand that human-centered guardrails are needed to ensure that everyone can benefit from the progress. Now, that begs the obvious question: how? The good news is we've done this before. We've rolled up our sleeves, we've flipped the script for Central New York already, and we get aligned behind a shared set of values, and we unlock this region's full and remarkable potential. Now, in my last set of remarks back in January, I got more blowback for not including a picture of my son Ben than any single controversial thing I've said from this podium in 20 years. And probably rightfully so. The people have spoken. More Ben, less Rob. Message received. It's not rocket science. Give the people what they want. Earlier this week, I had the chance to watch the great North American solar eclipse with Ben up in the Adirondacks. And for just over 3 minutes, we watched as these three celestial bodies, each with their own path and orbit, come together in a line. It's a magical experience. It doesn't even begin to describe the moment. And not just because of the rarity of the occasion, but because of what happens when the Earth and our moon and the sun are in alignment. It's called syzygy. It's such a powerful phenomenon that it alters the physical landscape around us. The temperature drops, the winds change, animals start their nocturnal routines. Alignment matters. The last time this region was in the path of a total solar eclipse was 1925, and it won't happen again until 2144, when my son, aided by advances in AI-led human health discoveries, will turn 132 years old. Yet here we are in the year 2024, convening in celebration of Central New York's moment, just days after this remarkable occurrence right above us. Do we think that's a coincidence? Of course it's not. We are in this moment because of our tenacity, our perseverance, and our creativity. We've earned the change that is already upon us, and the pace and scale of that change is unlike anything that we've seen before or experienced. And it is already testing our ability to keep up. And that pace is only going to accelerate. Listen, I know it can be hard to believe. As humans, we are so deeply rooted in what we've known. Stagnation, population loss, progress that can sometimes feel glacially slow. But the moment we have now entered is entirely different. In the world of data, it's an outlier, a full standard deviation or two from our past and even recent experience. Don't believe me? Consider this. By the end of this decade, there'll be more people living in central New York than at any other time in history. Over the next 15 years, projected job growth with Micron's investment alone will drive our population up by nearly 8%, create as many as 50,000 new jobs. Can anyone tell me the last time we had 50,000 more jobs in this community than we had today? Of course not. It's a trick question. We've never had 50,000 more jobs in this community than we have today. Regional employment peaked around 1990. In all of recorded history, we're about to enter a circumstance that we have never had before. And this project, Micron's investment, as you heard Elizabeth say, isn't just reshaping our economic landscape. It's reshaping our nation's economic competitiveness and vaulting upstate New York into an entirely new tier of criticality to our nation's future. Within the next decade, when Micron has just 2 of its 4 fabs up and operating, 1 in 4 American-made chips will be produced within 350 miles of this corridor. No other area of the country will account for a greater share of domestic production of one of the most fundamental inputs to the modern economy that there is. This region matters. And this moment is so much bigger than Central New York alone, which is why CenterState CEOs joined with our partners in Buffalo, Rochester, Ithaca, and Syracuse to compete for and secure the designation as one of 31 nationally significant tech hubs around the country. Working in concert with nearly 100 private sector partners, academic partners, community organizations across upstate New York, the Smart Eye Corridor has a generational opportunity to build a globally leading semiconductor cluster to advance not just our region's economic prosperity, but our national security as well. Now, if that were all we were doing, we would have our hands full as a community, but it's not. Consider our economic development pipeline, our region's sales funnel of potential opportunity, which has grown more than 20x since 2019, within 5 years, and has doubled in just the last 12 months alone to a staggering $10 billion of potential opportunity in other projects that we are tracking and working on bringing here to Central New York. Now listen, I get why some people are nervous. This isn't what we are used to. This isn't small change, and no one in this room or beyond wants to lose the character and the quality of life that makes Central New York such an incredible place. And while this level of growth is what we have aspired to and invested in for decades, it comes with real and urgent challenges to which this community, all of you in this room, will need to rise. Take housing, for example. The average rent in Onondaga County has increased 57% in the last 7 years, making Syracuse one of the places with the fastest rising rents in the country. Imagine that. Our population is growing again, and yet we simply haven't built enough housing to meet current, let alone future demand. Already we're hearing from the no birds, not in my town or in my village. I get it, but every single city and town and village in Central New York will benefit from our evolution from stagnation to growth, and therefore we all share a responsibility for delivering real solutions in the form of more and more affordable housing for the people who live here and the people we want to move here. And it's not just housing that's under pressure, but our healthcare system as well. Aging facilities, a lack of necessary IT infrastructure, and an acute shortage of nurses and doctors are going to require massive investments to modernize and to scale with the growth of our community. Our airport, believe it or not, is now the 4th busiest airport in New York. We passed Albany and Rochester within the last year. And yet, we will need more than $1 billion of investment in that airport just to accommodate the traffic that we can accurately foresee and plan for today. our energy grid, faces the simultaneous challenges of growth in energy-intensive industries like semiconductor manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, but also an electrification and a decarbonization mandate from New York State that, absent rational debate and new carbon-free generation, will actually slow or stall the growth that we anticipate. Housing, transportation, energy. These are just a few of the systems that are going to be strained by this moment that we're in. But friends, can I tell you the scariest and the most exciting part? For years, our community's economic and social progress was held hostage to global forces, demographic forces that we could only hope to try to mitigate. But today, as we stand here just a few days after the great North American eclipse and this incredible point of alignment, those strong headwinds have turned into a brisk tailwind. The wind is literally at our back, which means that there is literally only one thing that can possibly hold us back. And that's us. Our civic cohesion is what allowed us to fight our way back from economic collapse. Our civic leadership and our collaboration and our creativity and our willingness to work together is what brought us back to this moment. And it is that civic cohesion that must not only hold, but strengthen for us to maximize this moment. Now, for those of you who know me, you know I love to mountain bike. Preferably down actual mountains, sometimes over roots and rocks, berms and drops. Every once in a while, even intentionally, over small cliffs and through streams. And when you're on a bike, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Your vision has to match your pace. The faster you go, the farther down the trail you need to look. That is our challenge. We're moving faster now, and we need to adjust our vision to a new horizon. Close your eyes for a moment and think. Imagine the community that we could build if we are not bound by the same physics that we've been accustomed to over the last several decades. It's a central New York with amenity-rich lifestyle communities like those proposed at the former shopping town and Great Northern malls. One with more concentrated, walkable, and vibrant communities in places like Fulton and Oswego, Auburn and Cortland and more, filled with more young people and more families. A home to more seniors who stayed here because we reshaped our physical and built environment to accommodate their wants and needs so they did not need to leave. It's a place where we build housing at the pace of our population growth. We reform zoning in our towns and villages to increase density. We've developed new programs to reimagine the housing stock in the city of Syracuse and our inner ring suburbs. And our neighborhoods are full of new life and residents, our community members, our neighbors. They can afford to own a piece of and build equity in their own community. I see not just one new hospital, but several world-class healthcare facilities to serve the needs of a growing population. New schools, too. A second STEAM school, because the first one is turning out talent that is ready to take our collective place at the helm of this amazing region. In the summer, the beach at Onondaga Lake is the social and recreational center of our community. We can look across that lake and see an amphitheater that was doubled in size to accommodate bigger performances and larger crowds. This is a waterfront that defines our community the same way that waterfronts define the most attractive and enjoyable cities around the world. That waterfront finally connects to a redefined downtown that is no longer constrained by an absurd highway. A growing skyline stretches from the lakefront to the hill with new parks and paths that weave together an increasingly walkable and bikeable city. We have a new state-of-the-art convention center that showcases our region's renaissance, New hotels, exquisite dining, maybe even a Michelin star or 2 or 3, because food is the ultimate showcase of our city's up and coming status. And there's an abundance of arts and culture and professional sporting options too. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I loved logic problems in math. So try this one out. Columbus got Intel, we got Micron. Therefore, if they have the Columbus crew, what do we have? The Syracuse Surge? And not just a Major League Soccer team, but the youth teams and the training facilities that young athletes need to achieve their very best. Now, listen, I sense the chuckles and the giggles and the skeptics among us. Old habits die hard, eh? But maybe some of these things might seem a little ambitious to you. But there is plenty of room for us to dream about more pedestrian things as well. Like an outdoor movie screen or an REI or Patagonia to complement downtown's local retail landscape. An IKEA? A Destiny? Done. And getting between all these amazing amenities is easy because our reliable and attractive rapid transit system has improved mobility between downtown, the Hill, our lakefront, our airport, our suburbs, and all of the lifestyle communities that we have built together. And if you want to talk about connectivity, Syracuse is a popular stop on the most important high-speed rail corridor that connects the 2 fastest growing regions of our country, from New York City to Chicago. On the off chance you want to leave Syracuse, and I don't know why you would, there are plenty of options. Coast-to-coast nonstop flights, or direct international flights to Canada, to Mexico, the Caribbean, and maybe, just maybe, to Europe and to Asia as well. And it's not just passenger flights, but our airport is home to the most robust advanced air mobility hub in the United States of America. The Central New York that I see is livable and it's highly connected. But the most important thing is that we did it while staying true to our core values of environmental responsibility and sustainability. We leveraged the investment in the water pipe that we had to build for Micron from Lake Ontario, and we extended it just a little bit further, bringing lake source cooling to our city, reducing our carbon footprint, and making Central New York one of the most climate resilient regions in the world. And speaking of values, the Innovation Hub, once known as the Tech Garden, has achieved its own acclaim. A 2024 study conducted by the World Economic Forum found that women make up less than 25% of the global workforce in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields, and comprise a mere 5% of the certified drone pilots in the United States. So tomorrow's Central New York broke through that ceiling and achieved 50% for both. And we've been recognized for Black and brown excellence in tech, leading the nation in BIPOC founders of billion-dollar startups. I see this future for Central New York as a place where businesses thrive and all people prosper, where children don't grow up in poverty, where we are recognized as one of America's fastest growing, most equitable, and most livable cities, and where our community pride finally matches our achievements. Truth is, I am not a psychic. I cannot see the future. So before anyone asks me where that soccer stadium is going to be built, let me be very clear. These last few images are nothing more than AI-generated renderings of a future state based on nothing more than a couple keywords input into a search engine. But that's the point. The horizon is approaching faster than ever before. The era where it felt like a risk to poke our heads up and dream is behind us. The future is ours to shape and to imagine. We get to determine what keywords shape our future. And generations of Central New Yorkers will be more likely to judge our leadership based not on whether we dreamt too big, but rather on whether we dreamt big enough. And while I cannot see the future, I do believe at the very core of my being that those of you in this room, that this community, that we have superpowers. Nothing I said today is impossible. But more importantly, we, working together, we can manifest any future we choose for ourselves in this moment. And when we align our energy and our ideas and our resources, we are limitless in our potential. My advice is simple. Eyes up. The horizon is approaching faster than ever before. It's time for our vision and our leadership to match the pace of change that we are in. Thank you all so much for being the best and most successful community in America. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your support. Thank you for bringing Central New York back. And thank you for all you will do to shape those keywords that will be inputs into this region's future. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Look forward to seeing you in the back.